Okay, last check for understanding. We have a word problem talking about Tom. Tom has a part-time job. He recorded the hours he worked to pay for his pay for 3 different days, and he plotted the points on a grid. It says, what's the slope of the line through these points? And then what does the slope represent? So let's connect these points with a smooth line. The 3 points go from 6 hours to $72 to 2 hours, $24. Well, I'm going to carry this line right through the origin, which represents 0 times $0, which makes sense because when you don't work, you don't get paid. Now, what is the slope of the line? Well, we'll do this when the old-fashioned way. We'll just count the rise and run. So it rises from here and it runs to there. But let's watch out, because even though it's 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes, those 4 boxes don't represent $4 in pay. Notice if we look at the increments of 24 to 72, well, what's the rise if we go from $24, which was our first point, to $72? Well, that's a rise of, what's it a rise of? That's a rise of $48. 48 plus 24 is 72. Okay, and then at the same time, that's a run of how many hours? That's 2, 3, 4 hours. So those boxes are accurate. All right, so I'm just going to write up here that the slope, M, is a rise of 48 when we run 4. And I could have used the slope formula to get that same amount. And we should simplify that. That's the same as 12 over 1. Okay, so that's the slope of the line, 12 over 1. I'll just write it right beside the question. I like to write my slopes as fractions. What does the slope represent? Well, it represents the rise over run, we know, but now we have a situation. The situation compares the rise of pay versus the run of time. So what could we say is the meaning of this 12 over 1? So think about that for a second. Think about that. What are you thinking? Well, if you were thinking that the rise over the run represents the rate, well, it represents amount paid over amount of time worked. So let's think about that for a second. Amount paid versus amount of time worked. So basically, Tom was paid $12 for every 1 hour, which we said originally was $48 for 4 hours. Well, that's the same as $12 per hour. So we should write that as a rate. The rate of change is $12 per hour. And that's what the slope means in this situation. Okay, so I'll just put that here. That is part B. Part C. How can the answer to part B be used to determine how much Tom will earn in 3.5 hours? Well, think about that for a second. If he's making $12 per hour and he works 3.5 hours, could we treat this like an equation? Well, yeah. It's 12 for every 1. So if it's 12 for every 1, what would $12 in 3.5 hours be? It'd be 12 times 3.5. 12 times 3.5, mental math. 3 times 12, 36. 12 times a half is 6, which would be 42. $42 is the unit. Tough to write here on a mouse. Okay, $42. And it says part double I, how much time did it take for Tom to earn $30? Well, I'll get you to try that one on your own. Mr. Wheeler, you could press pause here. Turn it back on when everybody's tried that. Okay. Well, welcome back. Let's see if you got it. Here comes the answer. Did you get part C double I? Did you get 2.5 hours? Well, basically, what do you do with the $30? Don't you just divide it? $30 divided by $12 per hour, and you would get 2.5 hours. Okay, Mr. Wheeler, you can get them started on the assignment.